10. Is your life over at 40 financially if you have not been successful in life? As Jordan Peterson says, if you haven't taken the responsibility, which I'm not saying you should, I think you should take responsibility when you're young. But say by 22, you didn't have it together and you didn't have a life plan where you could apply for a job, for instance, to be a plumber at that point, or an HVAC person, or you didn't go to college right away and get an accounting degree so that you could get a job at 22. And someone would, at 22, all you have is potential. Jordan Peterson would say anybody seeing somebody that age would, well, take them in and they train them because they would think you would have all this potential to be, you could be really successful. I mean, all you have is the potential for success. But what happens when you hit 30 and then 40? Well, I'm going to show you a picture of Jordan Peterson, and I like him. I've seen a lot of his videos. Here he is. He has, I want to get a close view there. He has at least 8.6 million subscribers. I love his politics. He's a kind of a conservative like me, and he's from Canada. He is a professor at the University of Toronto, or was. Now he really doesn't have to be anymore. He's a wealthy man at this point. And he talked about responsibility, especially for young men. It didn't have to be just for young men, but that's who gravitated towards him, and that's who he really speaks to. And I'm all for that. I think that's great because we're not a male-oriented society really anymore, and that's not a good thing in my opinion. Maybe we'll be more again someday, but I don't know. But is life over financially for you at 30 or 40 if you haven't been successful yet? Well, I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on that. And the first is, firstly, are you still mobile? Can you move around? My guess is, and I'm 52, if you're in your 40s or even your 50s, if you're not disabled, if you don't have a very serious medical condition where you can't get around, even for a lot of people into their 60s, maybe beyond, you can still move around. There's a lot of jobs you can do, even if you haven't been successful yet or climbed up any corporate ladder, or established a career. Maybe you haven't established a career. I haven't. Now you could say, well, Mike, you say you're in education. Well, yeah, I'm a TA, a teacher's assistant. I was a teacher, and that didn't work out for me. And I didn't get that job until I was 30, which is interesting, and was let go from the school district of Philadelphia when I was 37. Now, it ended up I could have gotten another job in Trenton in math had I had the right credentials for it. But in New Jersey, I was only qualified in math up to 6th grade, not up to 8th or 12th, because there were various licensing problems. So I didn't get that job to teach in Trenton. Maybe that would have worked out, maybe it wouldn't have. I certainly had trouble anyway controlling the classroom, which is why the Philadelphia job didn't work out. So I continued in education, just in a different role and a lower paying role. Teachers' assistants do not get paid on the same level at all as teachers. So I'm guessing there are a lot of people like a lot of people like you out there who at 40 years old have not or are not earning enough money. Maybe you're married, I'm married. Maybe you're not. And I think it's a lot harder if you're not. Because how are you keeping the roof over your head? Right? This is real life. How are you able to pay, if you're not living with mom or dad, for your house, for a car if you need it to get to work, if you can't just walk across the street and work at ShopRite or a place near you? Hope maybe you live in a city and you can, or maybe you live in an area where you can just walk, or you can just take a train, and that would be a way to get to work. Those are real things to consider. And what about buying food for yourself and paying for other things you have to pay for in life, regardless? Are you able, if you have an apartment, to split the rent with? Are you able to find somebody to live with where you can cut the rent in half or in a third? Because you have to live. We have to live. Once you're on the streets, that's when your options really go down dramatically. They just do. So you have to avoid that at all costs. Or if you're in that situation, get out of it as soon as you possibly can. I don't care where you're living, a studio apartment, and you can work a job that you're in a 400-foot little studio room, live there on a mattress and have a bathroom and a little stove, something. Because as long as you have that, a place to stay, a little bit of heat for the winter months, some kind of heat, and hopefully some kind of air conditioning in the summer, because that's almost impossible to deal with too when it gets too hot. Right? I mean, what are you going to do? Be at the mall all day? Well, that's very hard to do. So our lives are not over at 40. In all likelihood, you could live another 40 years. So I don't know what positive message Jordan Peterson is sending to men, especially men 40 and over. Because there are things you can do, especially if you can use your hands, use your legs, use your mind. I don't know what your IQ is. I don't know. I don't know what you're capable of doing. You do, though. You know what you can learn. You know what you're good at already. If you're 40 years old, you might be good at building stuff. Just things around the house. You might be. You might be good at things I don't know how to do. I certainly don't know how to build what my wife did, a buffet table from scratch, basically just pieces, or fix what we get handyman men to fix. Do you know how to put a ceiling fan in and get it to work? Even if you're not an expert at it, could you look it up on YouTube and figure out how to do it and make money from that? Could you be a tutor? I am a math tutor. Now, being a math tutor does not pay all your bills either. Even as, quote, a side hustle, right? People say, well, you can't work 40 hours and a minimum wage, and you're going to need a side hustle. Well, let me tell you, that's really barely enough either. You can work 40 hours a week, and I could have a bunch of tutoring jobs, and if I was on my own, I still don't know if it would be enough. Maybe it would barely, but it doesn't mean give up. It doesn't mean you give up at being successful. I'm trying to do it right now by starting a YouTube channel. Now, this channel, I'm really not even supposed to be doing this video because this channel is supposed to be over, but I felt compelled to today. Because I don't think life's over at 40 years old for men financially, just because you haven't been successful yet, or you haven't made the decisions, or you haven't been able to, for whatever reason, accomplish becoming successful yet. And maybe you have a wife. Maybe you are on disability. Does that mean that you're just stuck? You can't do anything else? Well, now you can do things remotely. And if you have knowledge of something valuable, because it's only through value that we earn money, right, from other people, we have to deliver value. You know, when I go into school, I'm delivering value for the students. I'm running their what's called an ITT program. And I am helping the school, because the school hires you, right? The superintendent hires you, help their students, and they can put me with whoever they want to get the best education that they can get. Now, I happen to work in a special needs school, but that doesn't mean you do. And it doesn't mean you're in education. You can be in any field. And at 40 years old, you've done something. Maybe you can learn how to ride a forklift. I mean, really. Some people are really good at that. Or drive a van, or drive a truck, or drive a bus. There are things you can make money at and do quite well for yourself, and you're not making minimum wage. And those things really are in demand. And I don't like this idea, again, of Jordan Peterson saying that at age 40, well, no one's just going to hire you. That's just BS. Let's call it what it is. It's BS. Your life is not over at 40. It's not over at 50. It's not over at 52 if you have diabetes. I don't care. You know, old Mike has a saying, his saying goes on his channel, Me Living Better, if you ain't dead, you ain't done. Well, he's 81 years old. Now, he has lived a very successful life, but he hasn't been a YouTuber, and he's doing that now to make money. He just happens to be one of those people who could get monetized in 9 weeks. That's not usual. That's not usual. I'm giving myself, honestly, some say give yourself 10 years. I'm giving myself 8 years. You may find that hard to believe. 7, 8 years to get monetized, to get a following, and to make money on this platform. Because let me tell you, when you become a professional, whether it's in accounting or it's being a teacher, you have to go through a lot of college, like 4 years of it. And then you're not going to start up at the top of the ladder anyway, even when you start off being a teacher. You're going to be on what's called step 1. There are 11 steps to get to the highest levels of pay. And that goes for any job. You start at the bottom. You have to work your way up. And just because you haven't started at 22 years old or 18 years old doesn't mean that you're finished. I don't believe that. And I don't think you do either. Do you, men? Leave what you think in the comments below. If you think your life is over and you have half of your life left at 40 years old or 50 years old, Just because you haven't been successful yet, and maybe there are things going on, but that doesn't mean things can't change for you. It's your life, right? It's your life. No one decides for you that, well, you made poor decisions for a lot of your adult life, financially at least, and, well, now you're just done. Sorry, Dumbo. Really? Really? You can't learn anything else. I'm talking to a camera right now. I never did that before I was 51 or 52. I mean, really, I never did it. Now I'm doing it, and I'm not stuttering. I'm not saying every time or every time. Yeah, I'm thinking about what I'm saying. I'm not looking at my notes half the time. I've learned how to edit on this YouTube, on the YouTube app Studio, and I've learned how to do what you have to do to upload it and learn these things. Now, I only have 5 subscribers right now, but I'm going to start another channel with 0. And that's just fine. Because we all start from 0. That doesn't mean, and I mean as an adult, when we're starting out, we start from 0. I don't care if you grew up rich or grew up poor. Now, theoretically, if you grow up poor, it's harder. But if you grow up rich, you can become poor. I don't live in Cherry Hill anymore. That's where I grew up. My dad was a CPA accountant. My mom was a special ed teacher. They could live a very nice lifestyle in Cherry Hill and pay all those property taxes and have a very nice house and own it after 30 years. But it doesn't mean you're going to. You could end up on the streets. And actually, I was voluntarily for 3 days until I realized if I can at all help getting out of that situation, get out of it. And I did. So try to, at all costs, and this will be the last part of this video, to avoid getting to 0 and being on the streets. But if you are, find something. Work for some restaurant. I don't care. You can smell. Whatever. You need a job, you need a job. Survive any way you can until you can make your life better. Or if you have children, your children's life better as well. Or if you have a wife, your wife's life better as well. You do not give up. That is a bad message. And this age 40 thing, that it's over, is ludicrous. And I don't know what it tells to men, Mr. Peterson, at all. Again, tell me what you think in the comments below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe to the channel. Even though there's going to be a new channel, please subscribe. And see you next time. Take care.